key to drunk acting, because a drunk, of course, never acts drunk. They always try to act sober.
They always try and act sober, and that's the thing, yeah. I think he does that very well. And also, you know, it's just, he's an absolute mess, but you still really like him, and, you know, which is quite a feat, I think.
Now, just before we let you go, there was a question I wanted to ask, that the friend who sleeps with a former boyfriend of a friend. Now, it's a hot potato. Where do you stand on that, Sharon?
A friend who sleeps with a former boyfriend of a friend.
Is it ever allowed?
Well, I think you need to find out what the situation, how it ended. You know, that it's not a clear-cut kind of thing, is it?
Well, you say that. I'm getting a definite no from Sammy here in the studio.
Really?
Oh, it's a definite never. Even if they say I'm totally over it, they'll be seething.
Really?
Inside. You never get over your ex ever. Doesn't matter how much you really hated them. It's still somewhere you're going, sorry, you've just slept with my ex-boyfriend. That's not right.
You don't just see what the boundaries are and then move in.
I'm quite a hateful person, though. I think that might have something to do with it. Maybe other people are more grown up than me and can get over it and move on, but certainly from my point of view, that's just never forgivable.
But you might be interfering with love's true path.
Oh, that's a good point.
So you've not thought of that, have you?
But if it's love, that's different. If it's just a one-night thing, it's not. That's cruel.
Yeah, but love can often start with a one-night thing.
Well, exactly.
What do you mean, can it? Of course it can.
Errol Brown said it started with a kiss, Jude. Isn't it wrong?
Listen, Sharon, we have to let you go, but thank you so much for coming on the show. And as I say, the show's fantastic. It starts again tonight on BBC Three, as I say, 9:30. Thank you so much, Sharon.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers. All the best. A lot of those questions probably already answered on Sean Keaveney's show earlier in the week.
Yeah, if you want to hear them again, you can listen back to Sean's show on the website.
Okay, we need to get a musical choice from you, Harry, because the news is fast approaching.
It is. I'm not going to lie, Steve. It's been quite mid-tempo today. Quite enjoyable, but quite mid-tempo for a kind of laid-back Sunday afternoon. I'm going to unashamedly up the tempo now. The greatest band that ever existed were Rocket from the Crypt. Not just my words, their words as well. And in Halloween 2005, they played their last ever show. They've recently released a CD and DVD set of the whole spectacular night. It's very, very much worth getting. It's a great show, and the showmanship's incredible. There's so many costume changes. It's just a wonderful thing. This is a track from the CD. It's called I'm Not Invisible.
It's Harry's choice on the Steve Show. What was it again?
That was I'm Not Invisible by Rocket from the Crypt off the Live Last Show CD DVD package entitled R.I.P.
Here's a big change of pace. Here's a track by Birds of Wales. They're from Ontario. Their album's called Fall of the 49. Here's Cinderella Has Nothing on You. The band are called Birds of Wales, and the tune is Cinderella Has Nothing on You from their album Fall of the 49. We will be delving into the Pigeonhole, listening to some new music after the news. New tunes, in fact, from Portishead and also from Death Cab for Cutie. Back after the news.
On digital.
Beck, of course, on the Steve Show and Where It's At from his album Odelay. Steve Show, as I say, BBC Music coming shortly, delving into the Pigeonhole and experimenting with some new music. I don't think there's been enough new music. There's not been enough new music on today's show, and I'm embarrassed about that. There's been some cracking tunes. Let's not talk about it. Let's just look back. So we've had Rocket from the Crypt.
Oh, Bowie. Remember Bowie?
Bowie we had earlier.
Sang over the end of.
That was great.
That was great. There was a happy days of the show. They were.
Hey, you're absolutely right. 2 turntables and a mic. That's kept people listening.
Oh, I love new music.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes, we were also asking as well for your queries, your concerns about pulling, the difficulties of pulling. It's a very tricky business. And Harry, you had a little response?
Yeah, well, Bikeless, friend of the show, Esther, you remember from earlier, she had a bike stolen. She also wants some pulling advice. She's 19 years old.
Right.
Let's call her Esther. But she's been asked out by a 35-year-old man.
Whoa!
Is the age difference too much?
Yes!
Yes?
Slow down, Esther.
Esther, don't do it. Could be a doubly miserable weekend.
He was only after your bike. No, I mean, my presumption is I don't know that necessarily is a problem, is it? I mean, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Michael Douglas, that's probably a similar age gap, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And who's having the last laugh there? I don't know. One of them.
Anna Nicole Smith and that dead guy.
Yeah, I mean,
that didn't work out too well for either of them, though, did it? Really?
That's true. I'll take it back.
Sammy, you're a chick. What's the rule there? What would a friend be advised if that was her situation?
My rule is, because I was born pretty much slap bang in the middle of the 80s, if you weren't born in the same decade as me, it's not on the cards.
Oh, okay.
I also go by the rule for my friends, if they're old enough to be your dad, and by that I mean there's a 16-year gap or more,
right.
Don't think about it, because you might as well be going out with a lion. There's no relevance there. You're going to be talking about programmes that are on the telly you're not going to understand.
Yeah.
There's too much of a gap culturally.
Okay, interesting. Tiny Dan's got he's ummed.
Well, I'm just thinking about Paula Abdul. She said opposites attract, and you could introduce each other to a whole new world a whole new era of TV programmes.
Jude just signalled there to say, I don't trust the words of Paula Abdul. She said something a little worse, but I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and surely in that Opposites Attract video, Paula Abdul fell in love with a cat.
Yes.
So it'd be like falling in love with a lion, like you said earlier. So that's obviously a good thing, not a bad thing.
This is good advice, isn't it?
It's dynamite advice, isn't it? I think, do you know what? Just go with your heart. I'm sorry, but if this 35-year-old guy's just been hanging around in the college where you go to or whatever, near the bike sheds, then frankly, no, do not get involved. But if he's a sophisticate, maybe he's one of Sir Alan's forthcoming apprentices, then he could be quite the guy. So
it's the way around it is. If she approached the 35-year-old, I think it's fine. If he approached her, maybe not.
Okay.
There's the rule.
I'm not sure that stands up in court.
Good advice. Okay, so we have to delve into the pigeonhole and listen to some new music. It is obliged, it's part of the BBC's licence fee remit. And we've got new tunes this week from Sam Sparrow and also Portishead, but we'll start with Death Cab for Cutie. New tune from them, it's called I Will Possess Your Heart. New single from Death Cab for Cutie, I Will Possess Your Heart, from the new album out in May, Narrow Stairs. And if you're a Death Cab for Cutie fan, they are in session with George Lamb on Tuesday on Six Music. So we're getting our verdict from our panel here on that new tune. Death Cab for Cutie, huge in the States, aren't they? Big state band there. Perhaps not quite the level of fame over here, but Dan, is that ill-deserved?
Possibly, yeah. I think it's quite a low-key sound, which might explain why it's not superstar status. I really like that though. It's a grower. I think the song actually grows within it, and it's a grower the more you listen to it. So there's a nice little formal play on words there.
Thanks very much.
But I would possibly download that to my MP3 player. There's many on.
Are a banker. There's a big financial crisis looming. Is that the sort of tune that will calm your shot nerves?
I think it will calm people. I quite like Death Cab for Cutie, but they're just a little bit unsatisfying. You can kind of go through an album and then it's like, yeah, nothing happened. Death Cab for Cutie, they're like a Milky Way when you want a Snickers. They're like standing on the shore and looking at some light drizzle rather than an electric storm.
Sure.
And they're like the cartoon series Transformers when you really want the hit action movie Transformers.
Okay, thanks very much indeed. I'm not quite sure I understood that analogy, but
they're just a bit bland and they're not really exciting enough.
Undernourishing is words that Harry could have used there. He didn't. But Sammy, do you agree with him?
Kind of, yeah, because I've always preferred the Postal Service as Mr. Gibbard's project over Death Cab for Cutie, because the Postal Service just seemed to go somewhere that they don't. But I really did like that song, and I loved the fact it was completely clean. Maybe just for that one song, if you listen to it on a whole album, you probably go, maybe that's a bit too clean. I want some dirt in there. But the drums were very clean, and I like that, and I do love Mr. Ben Gibbard.
Okay, see what you make of Sam Sparrow. He has a new tune, debut single out on April the 7th. It's called Black and Gold. Debut single from Sam Sparrow out on the April the 7th date, and you can remember when that is by using your knuckles and then looking between them where you've written April the 7th. And so there we are. Dan, you love dance music. Did you love that?
I like electro, I like soul, I like funk. Do I like them all mixed in? I'm not sure that I do. It sort of felt, it was very nice, quite a mainstream sort of sound. I certainly wasn't offended by it. But I don't know if I was grabbed by it either. I don't want to steal Harry's metaphor, but I was on that cliff top. It was drizzling. I wanted the electrical storm. I got annoyed. I threw myself off to an untimely and bloody death.
Sammy, just say some other words.
Toilet tat.
Toilet tat?
Yeah, that's exactly the first time I heard it. That's what I thought. When you're in a club that you're not comfortable in, you just want to go home and your heels hurt and you've gone to the toilet just because it's quieter in there. And that's what they're playing in the toilet. And you just think, do you know what? I'm definitely going home. I've just had enough. It's the end of the night. That's it for me. And he sounded a bit like Seal in part. Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? Do we need another Seal?
Harry, can you offer me any information on Sam Sparro?
Well, before I do, another thing I can say is the way to remember April the 7th is that it's my birthday, of course. Now, if someone were to buy me that single on my birthday, I'd be incredibly upset and probably never speak to them again. There's not much information about Sam Sparro out there. There's a picture of him on the Guardian website, and he looks insufferably smug. He's wearing a stupid baseball cap at a ridiculous angle, and yeah, you just want to punch him.
Okay, we've got the verdict there of Sparro, I think, and I appreciate that, Harry. Portishead, they have not had a release, get this, since 1998's live album. So obviously expectations are high for their new single. It's called Machine Gun, and it's out on April the 14th. 10 years, a long time to leave it before you bring out another tune. See what you make of it. Here it is. The band, Portishead. The single, Machine Gun. The show, The Steve. Okay, so that is from the forthcoming Portishead album Third, which is released on April the 28th, and the single out April 14th. And Dan, of course, being a West Country lad such as myself, you'll have been proud of Portishead when they had their moment in the mid-90s.
Indeed.
Have they come back all guns blazing?
I really liked it, actually. It's double moody. It's not necessarily easy listening, so I could see why people, especially towards the end there, they're going off there into soundscape territory.
Sure.
So it's perhaps quite an unusual single, but I really liked it. All the heads, talking, radio, machine, and Portis. I like them all.
Okay, Harry, you're also, raised in the West Country. I imagine that the trip-hoppy sounds of Portishead never really tickled your fancy.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first album. And sort of lost track of them after that. I really enjoyed that, but it just goes to show what the singles market's like these days. If you're putting that as a single, it's a really brave choice. And it's like music from the future. It's like if I'm trapped in a Doctor Who nightmare in my head, I expect that music to be playing. It's fantastic. Maybe Jeff Barrow's the modern Lou Reed, just out there doing his own thing, doesn't care.
Wow, you've brought the show right round to where we started. That is fantastic. I'd high-five you if I could reach. High-five him, would you, Dan?
Yeah, right, cheers.
Sweet. That is pretty damn well street. Sammy, Portishead, I imagine you've never heard of them. They are a band that were big in the mid-90s. There they are. Imagine that's your first introduction to them. What's it going to do for you?
It sounded like Kate Bush on gin jamming with Aphex Twin.
Is that a good thing? Sounds like it is.
Excellent.
Really? Would you get that much?
I enjoyed that. Particularly when Kate stopped, put the gin bottle down, maybe ran off to the toilet to be sick. When she gave up, the Twin really took over in that song. The essence of Twin, obviously.
Sure.
Because when Dummy came out, I still had a dummy.
That's my God. Oh, that's really weird.
So I think I may revisit that, then get the new album, and then enjoy them doubly.
Well, I'm pleased that we've offered you some new music that you've enjoyed. That's very much the aim of the Steve Show. Thanks very much indeed for listening. I don't know what more I can say, really. It's annoying that I was hoping to have sung over the end of that, but I didn't. You've brought us some treats, Sammy, and I know you've been keen to give them to us. You've got about 50 seconds left with which to do that.
I've brought everyone an Easter egg, because it is Easter, and it's all about the chocolate. Everyone knows that's the true meaning of Easter. So if you'd like to select an egg, I think we should pig out over the last track.
There is no last track.
It's just going to be the sound of us
well, maybe
eating.
over Stuart McConey. Let's pig out over McConey.
I'm not sure that we're allowed. Are we allowed to eat stuff over Stuart McConey?
I don't think he's against it.
He'd love it.
Yeah. Well, I've just got enough time to choose. Let me see. I'll probably have the. Actually, I can't mention the brands, can I? But I'll have one of the chocolate ones. And, I want to tell you that next week we have a session from Nizloppy. Nizloppy. You'll know them as the people who put out the JCB song that was almost a Christmas #1 a couple of years back, and they'll be here next week in session. This gang probably will be back as well, and that's pretty much it, isn't it?
Yep.
Merry Easter. All right, cheers, guys. Sounding as good now as it did in 2003, of course, that's the Libertines. Time for Hero. Steve Show, Steve Merchant here. Good to be with you on this lovely Sunday afternoon. Time is about 3 minutes past 3. And with me here, of course, the gang, the usual gang of crazy cats. We've got